next step in finishing off our grab rails is to put a coat of protective finish on them. We've had good experience with this product. It's called Cetal Marine by Sikkens, and we put it on, I would say 6 or 7 years ago, and it just now needs to be redone. We've redone our hatch covers, and now we're redoing our grab rails. These new ones that I made up are going to get a coat of, actually we're going to get 3 coats, maybe 4. What we're going to do now is this is how we put it on. First step, anytime you're putting on any kind of finish, if you want good results, the first thing is to do is make sure you have a dust-free environment. So we've moved to a different area of the workshop from where I was sanding over on the other side. We dusted off the bench, and we use a tack cloth to wipe down and get all of the loose dust off of these pieces. Notice I'm not wearing my flannel shirt, even though it is a little bit cool. Not too bad though. And once we've got everything wiped down, the next step, we're going to open the can with Cetal, like varnish. You don't want to shake it. So don't have your paint store, if they don't know exactly what they're doing, they may do it, but don't ask your paint store to shake your varnish or a product like Sikkens, like Cetal here. And the reason for that is you don't want to get bubbles in it. So you use a clean stir stick. Now, I always wipe my stick down with a tack cloth because I don't want to get dust in the product, whether it's varnish or in this case Cetal. We want to keep what's in the can as uncontaminated as possible. Now this has a pigment in it that helps resist ultraviolet. And you want to make sure that it's evenly distributed. Stir it gently. Do not shake it. Do not have it shaken at the paint store, because we don't want any bubbles to form. Now, the manufacturer recommends you use a bristle brush. We've tried foam brushes. They work okay. Foam brushes do have the advantage that you don't run the risk of getting any loose bristles in the job. With these here, I like to use throwaway brushes just because I'm lazy. I don't like to clean them afterwards. So choose, probably for these rails, I think I'm going to use an 1.5-inch brush. And what I do is I just, with my hands, do that, run my hand through to get any loose bristles out. Okay, now, nice and well stirred. Okay, clean the stick off with the brush. Don't want to waste any and don't want to make a mess. Alright, set that off to the side. It's not a bad idea to decant, and I always do that when I'm working with non-skid. But in this case, I'm using the second half of a can that I've already used quite a bit of. And, well, I'm just being a little lazy, I guess, but I'm not going to decant this. Okay, now, one last wipe with the tack cloth. Get any last little bits of dust that's floating around. And we'll probably get a little bit of contamination in here anyway, but we want to, minimize it as much as possible. There we go. Okay, now we're ready. Now, here's the basics. How do you get a good varnish finish? Well, that's a good question. The main thing is just follow the directions of the manufacturer of whatever product you're using. Do the job in the appropriate temperature, If it says use a bristle brush like this one does. Make sure you have the correct cleaner on hand if you're going to reuse the brushes over again. Make sure you have the right kind of cleaner. In this case it would be mineral spirits, but I'm just going to throw these brushes away because they're throwaway brushes. I like Cetal for a couple of reasons. One very important reason is it's very forgiving stuff. You can go back and forth over it like this. If you have a holiday, you can come back to it. But the only real secret that I have for getting a good finish is to follow the directions on the can. And of course, as we've already covered, make sure your environment is as dust-free as possible. Now, we've made some mistakes in the past, and in some cases it was unavoidable. When we were in Hawaii, we needed to do this job. We needed to refinish the handrails, and of course the directions on the can say not to apply them not to apply the product in direct sunlight. Well, how are you going to get around that if the handrails are bolted to the boat and you haven't taken them off? So, you kind of do as best you can do. Maybe do it early in the morning or late in the afternoon. You do need enough light to see. You have to be able to see what you're doing. So you can't do it at night. Even with lights, it's difficult to do it at night. Now I learned to brush on paint and varnish and like that, follow with the grain, always brushing with the grain, so that brush marks would be less likely to show. And so that's the way I do it. I've always done it that way because that's the way I was taught when I was a boy. And so that's how I do it. But getting back to follow the directions on the can, especially concerning temperature and sunlight. If you apply this stuff when it's hot, say 90 degrees, and the surface that you're working with has been out in the sun and it's gotten hot, what's going to happen is this it will dry too fast. Stuff will hit the hot surface, it will dry too fast, and it will not look good. And my little buddy Forrest here wants to lick this, and I'm not going to let him. So it's best if you can do it like this indoors. However, we have had good luck doing this on our boat, doing these handrails on the boat. You just have to be real careful. Do a good job masking it off. If it's in the summertime and the temperatures are high, humidity's high, you want to do it either early in the morning or late in the afternoon or evening after it's cooled off. We're going to finish laying on this first coat, and I'm going to chase the dog out, close the door, and we're not going to come back in here again until tomorrow afternoon. Because I'm going to put 3 coats on, or 4 coats I think, and I want them to look as good as possible.